In today's video, we're going to be going over some designer fragrances that nobody else is really wearing or talking about. And in my opinion, they definitely should be. Now, I was going to start this off with a, Dior Sauvage joke, but I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to get right into scents that I actually think are really worth digging into and checking out. As always, there is a caveat, and that is that you can get these right now. If I were featuring discontinued fragrances, of course, people really wouldn't be wearing or talking about them because they can't get them, and that wouldn't make for a very fair video. These are scents that you can buy right now that are really, really good and just not talked about. Now, this first one is Givenchy Gentleman Only. So we hear about the standard lineup all the time. EDP, Reserve Privé, Boise, all of those, right? And those are great. They're amazing fragrances. However, Gentleman Only is one that you just don't hear about. Now, this did go through a presentation or bottle change. So this bottle's a bit older. What you're gonna buy right now looks a little bit different, but the liquid, the smell stays the same. The price on this is around $47. And notice it is Gentleman. I don't know if you can see it, not Gentleman, okay? That's one of the key differences between the two lines. And so within the Gentleman lineup, there have been some other flankers over the years as well. You guys might remember Gentleman Absolute, I believe is what it was, that smelled a bit like Spice Bomb. Yeah, that one's been discontinued for a long time, but this is one you could still get and it smells great. Pink Pepper, Vetiver, Orange, and Incense make up the bulk majority of this scent. So it's bright and kind of spicy off the opening, a bit citrusy as well. And then as you dry down, you get a little bit of a soapy, clean, woody vetiver and a little bit of an incense smoke. It smells really great for spring in particular. Spring, kind of more formal leaning situations. Not that you can't wear it in a casual setting, you absolutely can, but this doesn't really have, a playful young smell to it. It has more of a gentleman's kind of premium, classy smell, which at least these days is kind of getting lost a little bit as we're going through all the different trends and phases of, men's fragrances. But this one has been out for a while. It was before all of that modern day stuff, but it smells really good, and I encourage you to check it out. It's not in the spotlight, it's not talked about all the time, but it is a really, really solid release that you could get a lot of use out of. It's good for spring, like I mentioned, but you could wear it in fall, even in winter, and maybe indoors in the summertime if you wanted to. It realistically could make for a pretty good signature scent. All right, now we're going to go over to the brand of Cartier. When it comes to this brand, they put out some really, really good scents, and pretty much across the board, from everything I've smelled, they're all classy, they're all refined, they're all elegant smelling, and the prices on these are not horrible. Again, we're talking all designers here in this video, and so, these aren't out of line, anywhere from usually $80 to $110, $120 in most cases for a lot of their major scents. But this one is Cartier Declaration in the Parfum variant. Spices, cardamom, bitter orange, and some leather in here. It smells fantastic. And I already gave you a pretty solid briefing on it already, in my opinion. Just more of a masculine smelling classic scent. Not to the point where it smells old school or anything like that, but again, this is definitely nothing that is trendy by any stretch of the term. And so if you're really after something that is going against the grain of all of the new releases that we're encountering, throughout the past couple of years, this is going to be it. And it very much is a Cartier scent. Again, if you've smelled any from the brand, you'll see a trend that most of them are just premium and classy smelling and just expensive smelling, but at least on discounters, they're not horribly expensive either. So they offer great value, great bang for your buck relative to some niche out there and to some other fragrances in this price range that aren't nearly as unique. As a little aside, the bottle is really cool as well, mainly being you've got this little locking mechanism up there that you flip down. You can see it, and then you can atomize the scent. That's nice. The only thing you'll have to be careful of, and I'll warn you with this bottle, is just be careful not to break this off, okay? Because when this locking mechanism is down, if you drop this or hit it too hard, you could just snap that right off. So just be careful. This bottle, I guess, could be a little bit delicate up top there, but all around, fantastic, woody, spicy, leathery scent for men. All right, now let's move over to Mont Blanc. When you think of Mont Blanc, at least for me, I think of Explorer firsthand. And then Legend Spirit, Legend Eau de Parfum and stuff, right? Those are kind of the two lineups that they're at least most known for right now. But they've got an expanding line that is really quite fascinating, and this one in particular is Extreme Leather. Now, I'm not 100% sure what this lineup is called, but they have several. Another one off the top of my head is Patchouli Ink, and then they've got quite a few more, so I don't know what they call these, but they're a little bit more of a premium line. However, you're still only paying, I think, around $70 for this, and this is a 125 ml bottle as well, so you're getting a little bit extra bang for your buck there. This one has leather, no surprise, iris, and musk. It's the three notes that they give us here. And I'll be honest, and I've said this before, it is not an overly extreme leather, meaning it's not, you know, like a Tuscan leather, earthy, dry, animalic smell. It's a pretty smooth, creamy leather, and it mixes with that iris beautifully, and that's kind of what helps to tame it down. It just gives it more of a smooth sweetness instead of being too rugged and harsh and potentially off-putting or unwearable. Musk and the dry down starts to come through, but it doesn't really provide a whole lot, just a little bit of a supplemental, you know, cleanness or freshness, I guess you could say. But the main two accords really going strong here is that leather and iris combination. It smells wonderful. This is a really solid release that is another versatile one. So you could wear this in fall, you could wear this into winter, and probably the beginning parts of spring. It's not overly sweet, but it's definitely not fresh either. It's just kind of in the middle, you know, kind of have the best of both worlds here, giving you that utility that you would be after. So again, $70, 125 ml, very reasonably priced, high quality, good performing scent that, you know, we're just not really hearing a ton about. Maybe this one will start to get a little bit popular over time, depending on just kind of how it goes, but definitely worth checking out if it sounds good to you. We're gonna go over to Carolina Herrera up next, a brand that has put out some amazing scents over the years, one of which CH Privé. Of course, they discontinued that one. That was one of their best ever. But this lineup has quite a few still going strong. And this one in particular, you don't hear about at all. CH Men Insignia. It has saffron, cinnamon, oud, rose, and some patchouli. So you guys, if you know me, you know I'm not always the biggest fan of oud-rose combinations. And I've never been, really. It's never really worked for me that well, unless it's done in a way that I guess I like it. And this is a situation here where I can really, really enjoy it, and I can more than tolerate it. Again, I really like it. You know, there are some that it's just way too overbearing. Typically what you'll find, at least for me, the ones that I don't like, is it's a very sweet rose note. Sweet rose, and then just that strong oud. It gets way too medicinal. You put your nose on this for the first time, that rose is right there, but it's a fresh, light, almost watery smelling rose accord. It is perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I don't want a sweet, jammy smelling rose that's just pungent and kind of, you know, womanly smelling, so to speak. You know, this is just a nice, fresh, light, almost white floral type of watery rose. Smells great, and a little bit of oud to complement it as well. You still get that saffron, the cinnamon, and the patchouli to go along with it, so this is definitely not a fresh scent, right? I don't want to mislead anybody here. There's still plenty of sweetness, richness, depth, and spiciness behind this one, to where, again, that's something that you got to keep in mind. But just the rose accord in general is not, you know, too challenging or too extreme, at least for me, from my personal preference. I don't know what it is about this one, maybe somewhat limited availability, or just the fact that it does have that combination that draws people away from this one. In terms of why it's not talked about, I'm not 100% sure. But it's one that you can get for about $95, $96 right now. I'll link it down below, along with everything else that I've been talking about, since I've been referencing prices. If you want to get those prices, just check the video description. But, you know, it's solid. It's not going to be for everybody, okay? And that should go without saying, but I'll just say it anyway. If you're on the fence, then chances are there's a reason why you're on the fence, and maybe you should be cautious about it. Try to buy a sample first, potentially, or move on to something else, I guess. But, you know, it's not quite everybody's cup of tea. However, if you do want something unique, something different, again, going back to what I said in the beginning of the video, something that just goes against the grain, something that's out of the usual you know, normal suspects that we're used to, this might be one to check out. It's going to be great for about right now, fall and winter use. All right, these last two are going to be fresher leaning scents. This next one here is amazing, and it's a discontinued fragrance, but it's in stock right now. It is John Varvatos Artisan Black. Now, you can get this one, 125 ml testers without a cap. It's going to look just like this. It does have the cool tag. $39, okay, not bad. I didn't have that opportunity. I bought this several years back when I was trying to complete my John Varvatos Artisan collection, and they weren't in stock anywhere on discounters. Had to go to eBay. So I bought a partial off of eBay and paid more than what I should have. So that's this bottle. It's a little bit beat up as well. You can see some of the paint is missing right here, and some paint missing on the front as well. But that's what it is. I'm going to go buy another bottle after this video, just because I can get a full one for 40 bucks. This smells absolutely incredible. So kind of going into this, when I saw this one pop up here on discounters, and it's popped up on a few different ones, it's interesting. You can it's crazy to watch. Like, I guess a bunch of this will be discovered, and then all the discounters will see it, and then they all start buying it and importing it and selling it. FragranceNet had some, FragFlex had some, now Joma Shop had some. And so I was like, man, I have a bottle of that. I'm going to go revisit it. It's been sitting for a while, haven't sprayed it. I smell it, and it's like, man, you know what? This is amazing. And you guys know what I'm going to say, right? I'm sure you do. What is it? They don't make them like this anymore. They just don't. The new John Varvatos scents, they don't live up to this. Got a pretty good note breakdown on this one here. I'm only going to list off a few. Blood orange, leather, tangerine, ginger, lemon, and watermelon, and way more going on as well. So that's just a few, but that gives you a general idea. Bright, orangey, and fresh, just like you would expect from an artisan, right? That tangerine, it's there. But then you've got a little bit of a watermelon accord, which gives you a slight sweetness, even a hint of leather in here. Now, it's very, very minor, but it's somewhat present, and it's more so later on in the scent to give it just a little bit of a masculine base. Get that ginger primarily off the opening, which is going to give it a bit of a spicy kick, which mixes with all the blood orange and the lemon and the orange and the citrus and everything perfectly. That's a great combination. So it's a big head turner, especially off that opening. It smells wonderful. You know, it's called Artisan Black. It's got a blacked out bottle here, but it's still very bright, very fresh. I don't want you to mistake it for like you know, John Varvatos Dark Rebel or something like that. This is nothing at all like those. This is still very fresh leaning. Awesome, awesome stuff. In my opinion, this is 100% worth a pickup. It's a rare find, a great collector's piece, and chances are if you end up not liking it for whatever reason, you'll just be able to resell it for at least what you paid for, if not more than that later on down the line. So it's kind of like a risk-free blind buy scenario here. But again, it's a nice, bright, fresh citrus with a unique twist. I don't think too many people would dislike how this one smells. Great stuff. Get it while you can, because again, it's opportunities to get stuff like this is very rare these days. Last up for this video, not a rare scent at all, one that's readily available, but you just don't hear about it. It's Toomey Awaken Distilled. I don't know, but I absolutely love this stuff. The original Awaken is good too. In my opinion, this one is way better. Got amberwood, cedarwood, patchouli, bergamot, and lavender. So a nice kind of, you know, ambroxan, amberwood, modern type of smell with some aromatic freshness, and then a nice bed of woods, a nice earthy, strong, masculine smelling cedar wood. And then again, it's just some of that kind of citrus off the opening. It doesn't really look like anything special off the note breakdown, right? Those are all notes that are common, that we've seen done a million times. And so you're thinking, what's so special about it? And I don't know. You know, it's hard to say what is so special about it, other than when you smell it. At least for me, it's something that, man, this is nice. This is kind of a different take on a somewhat common style of scent. You know, I wouldn't compare it to anything in particular. Yes, it smells a little bit like the original Awaken, but outside of the Toomey lineup, you know, it doesn't really smell like anything necessarily. Is it in the category of like a YSL Y? Yeah, it could be distantly related to that type of style, but it doesn't smell like the YSL Y lineup. It doesn't smell like, you know, Ralph's Club or anything else that's in that modern style aromatic category. It kind of does its own thing, which is why I like it. This one is a true parfum as well. Really sharp looking bottle presentation here, great performer. You don't hear about this often, people aren't wearing it, but it's a great one to have. Alrighty guys, that's gonna do it for me. Some unique smelling fragrances that people just aren't wearing, they're not talking about, but in my opinion, they should be. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.